Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of the RetroBlasting studio tour. Now you might be asking yourself, I thought we were going to be doing the toy room. Well, this is going to have toys in it. This is the sort of TV room screening area, but the reason that we are doing part 2 here instead is because the toy room itself, the main display room, which I probably will have to save for last, is currently the RetroBlasting equivalent of the Elves Workshop. I have a number of projects that require sitting at long tables with a lot of parts, and the TV room is not the place to do that because, as you can see, there's this big couch in the middle. So I've been forced to use the toy room for several months. So we will be getting to that toy room so you can see all of the latest things in the cases probably in the next chapter. Unless I decide to do the G.I. Joe room next, which I'm standing in currently. But I think you're going to enjoy this. This is a nice room with a lot of toys in it, so hopefully you guys will be satisfied with part 2. Okay, so here it goes. So if we start from the right of this room, we have the Star Wars Arcade 1-Up, which I featured in an episode of Star Wars Follies. Don't you have anything better to do?
And miss this?
And there are 2 special people sitting on the Star Wars themed stool. That stool was given to me kindly by Jody. And then we have 2, basically the little guy sitting here is a retail tiger that came out probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And he was so astonishingly like Hobbs that I had to pick him up. And then my good friend Tony Rowland, he surprised me with the donation of an actual, he's hard to see and I don't want to knock him off the thing, but you can kind of see his face right there, an actual homemade Hobbs that he and his wife designed and put together. So we have Hobbs and little Hobbs working on the arcade game for Star Wars, or trying to play it, or whatever. Okay, next up right here, these are Melinda's Mystery Science Theater bots, Tom Servo and Crow. They are made by the man who made them for Joel. There are some slight differences to Tom, but that difference really boils down to the seam line on his gumball machine head. We have sourced the actual gumball, but we have not swapped it out because I'm just very nervous about butchering this man's exquisite work.
And Servo has to do my laundry for a year, even my underpants.
You don't even wear underpants.
Oh, you don't worry about that. I'll take care of that.
This is getting weird.
Underneath here is the Hive, and the Hive is the Sectar's main playset. This is an original. It is complete.
Evil spy Drax positions his army for an ambush at the Hive.
The pieces that you don't see on the outside are stored inside because I have to walk past it and I don't want to wang them on the way by. Here is down there this amazing Secret Wars shield replica that was sent to us several years ago. It's the Captain America lenticular shield simulated 1-to-1. I don't know why shields with lenticular inserts are exciting, because they're not. Hiding behind here is the sword, the Voltron sword that we made that featured in our original title sequences for RetroBlasting videos that Melinda wields. You might have noticed here, this is a vintage Doctor Who bank. And this is a collectible that goes way, way back in Doctor Who merchandising history. That was kindly gifted to me by my good friend Gary Barwell, who lives in the UK and is one of the main hosts of Geek Force. I can't thank you enough, Gary, for sending me that. It was a huge surprise. All right, here is a Black Series snow speeder, presently being piloted by Wedge Antilles.
Activate harpoon. Good shot, Jansen.
And underneath are the shelving racks for all of Melinda's Atari 2600 cartridges.
What's this? You told me.
Now, before we go any deeper into this room, I'm going to swing over this way. So in the left corner of the room when you walk in, underneath here you will see the Terrordrome restoration is in progress, and this Terrordrome was donated to the channel years ago by Stephen Maybe.
Deep in the jungle, you discover it, the Cobra Terrordrome with gun emplacements almost everywhere and special base for refueling vehicles.
I just hope he's going to watch this at some point, because I am working on that Terrordrome. I have purchased all the parts and all the stickers. They're all in those boxes right there. The ring is currently in another room being cleaned. Damn that ring. Above is the Defiant that you saw me restore several years ago.
The G.I. Joe Defiant complex, and it's loaded with firepower.
It's awesome!
This Defiant was a childhood survivor. It was missing a number of parts, and a number of parts were broken off, but it had all the rare stuff, shockingly. So it was a real thrill to get that back together. It's an amazing piece. I'm still not sure how I feel about G.I. Joe going into space. Even as a kid, I thought that was a little weird, but, you know, there it is. Up here is the Night Raven, the Cobra Night Raven. This is the very one that I repaired and restored years ago for the channel.
Cobra Raven, there's no haven from the Cobra Raven.
And I like to keep those around. I know I could go ahead and buy one that doesn't have the front landing gear repair that I did, but honestly, I like having a little history with my toys, and I think this Night Raven turned out looking spectacular. The repair on it is very, very subtle, and this one's mine. It's mine now. I've earned it, so I'm really happy that it's up here. I don't want to hear anybody talk about why haven't you dusted it, because guess what? I didn't think about that before I started filming, and you wanted part 2, so there it is. Here, I'll blow some dust off of it. See, didn't really do all that much. But point is, the Night Raven hangs here. Okay, down here, hanging back there, you will see the Intertech automatic water gun that I repaired several years ago.
The look, the feel, the sound, so real. Entertainment.
And it sits on this director's chair that my father, he gifted it for me as a graduating from college present, along with that clapperboard down there. Here is the famous duck blanket. Those of you who've watched my videos know the video about the duck blanket. And as a matter of fact, this is not the actual duck blanket. My original duck blanket is upstairs. This one is one that I went out and found that was still in mint condition, and I use it down here in the winter when I watch movies sometimes. So this is the very same duck blanket from the very same company, Biederlack. This is one of 2 owls that I have. These are stuffed owls that are very special. They are related to Doctor Who and Sarah Jane Smith. This owl is, it was a plush item that they used at the very end of Elizabeth Sladen's last appearance in classic Doctor Who.
Travel does broaden the mind.
Yes. Till we meet again, Sarah.
And this owl is one of 2 that I have, because they made these owls in multiple scales. So I wasn't sure, based on the 2 different shots in the show, which size owl she has, because it looks like the owl is larger when she's inside the TARDIS versus when she's outside the TARDIS in the final moments of the episode. So I couldn't help myself, and I tracked down 2 different sizes, and you'll see the other one in a minute. This is my flux capacitor, which years and years ago, one of my earliest videos, I talked about that. It used to sit in the DeLorean, but it doesn't now. It's now part of the studio while I work on the DeLorean. Okay, this is my Empire Strikes Back poster. It is not an original, it's a reprint, but this I've had since probably high school or college, and it was a treat to get it framed up all that time ago, and I've had it my whole life pretty much. All right, so speaking of Doctor Who, we'll start there. So here is the smaller owl, and he is sitting next to the rubber toe official 4th Doctor Tom Baker sonic screwdriver replica. And they are sitting on some Doctor Who audio CD sets. Back here is the beautiful Dennis Fisher Doctor Who figure from the 70s that was surprisingly donated to the channel. I was blown away.
From outer space, the famous TARDIS brings Time Lord, Doctor Who.
This is one of the first Doctor Who TARDIS toys from Character Options that was to ever come out. This one came packaged with the Fourth Doctor, and this one's very hard to find now in this configuration, and this was kindly donated. It was a childhood original that was gifted to me by my good friend Ben Elgar. Now, speaking of Ben Elgar, we're going to be talking about him a lot here in a second, but this TARDIS playset, which is custom 3D printed, was gifted to me by my good friend Michael Schaefer.
You promised me we'd be back in London 5 minutes before leaving Loch Ness.
Did I?
Oh, you're trying to wriggle out of it.
Wriggle out of what?
Your promise.
And then here you will see a custom Tom Baker Fourth Doctor. He has a different, more somber head on him, but with his hat. And then these two Liz Sladens, these two Sarah Jane Smiths, are both customs that were made by my friend Ben Elgar. So this one on the left is from Planet of Evil.
We could get in the TARDIS and disappear.
No.
And this one on the right is from K9 and Company. Okay, so up here is my Doctor Who autograph framing. My favorite Doctor Who character of all time is Liz Sladen's Sarah Jane Smith, and my favorite Doctor is the Fourth. Obviously, I came into Doctor Who fandom a little late, but I like to track down something, meaningful to me if it really had an impact on me. And in this case, Doctor Who's Fourth Doctor era certainly did, especially those first 2.5 seasons with Liz. So I was able to custom print this photo of her from her time on the TARDIS. I believe this was from around season 13. This is an authentic Liz Sladen autograph card. That is her actual autograph. It is not a preprint from when she did K9 and Company. There is John Leeson's autograph, the voice of K9 with her from K9 and Company. We have the matching Doctor Who trading cards with their authentic autographs on them, Tom Baker and Liz Sladen from that 2003, I think that's the 40th anniversary run of cards. We have an authentic Tom Baker autograph from his time as the Doctor during the time that he would have been with Liz. And then we have his later costuming. This is one of the sort of souvenir cards that they would send out, much like this one, except this one, of course, is unsigned, but it is from after Liz left. So this is from after Liz left the TARDIS, and this is from after Liz left the TARDIS. And then down here for symmetry, we have John Leeson's autograph again for K9, except this time it's when he's with Tom Baker. I'm trying to create symmetry with this where every piece kind of balances out every other piece. I think it worked out pretty well. And then this wonderful framer named Antonisha did the extra mile on this. She just happened to be at the framing place that I went to. She happened to be a huge Doctor Who fan. So you can imagine how excited she was when this thing showed up, all these photographs. And we worked on it for a long time, and she took it upon herself to do this. These cutout inserts were her suggestions, not mine. I thought that was pretty cool. Down here we have the ever-growing British editions of the classic Doctor Who Blu-ray collection. So all of the series that are coming out, and they're coming out scattershot. If you're wondering why these seasons are, having gaps in the numbers, it has to do with the fact that they haven't brought them out in order. It was like season 12, season 19, season 18, season 26 or something like that. I mean, it was crazy the way they started doing it. So there's another season on the way. It's already been shipped from the UK. I'm hoping to get it soon. Been hearing a little scuttle about problems with the discs and the frame rate, but we'll see how that shakes out. Okay, over here is the more modern Who corner with the radio-controlled K9 from the mid-2000s there in the background.
No, you're not coming. You stay here.
Entreat, Master.
No.
Are the good?
No! Pluto's no place for a...
I'm sorry, K9.
The other wall of the playset was used over here so that when you see it, it has that, like I said, that symmetry, display symmetry. This right here is the Matt Smith TARDIS.
Okay. What have you got for me this time?
With the Dalek from the World War II episode with Winston Churchill. There is Sarah Jane from School Reunion when she came back to do the show in 2006.
Hello, Sarah Jane.
It's you. Oh, Doctor.
There are Rose and the 10th Doctor.
There you are. Come and look at this patient. Marconi's disease.
And there is Amy and the 11th Doctor.
You're Amelia.
You're late.
Amelia Pond, you're the little girl.
I'm Amelia, and you're late.
All right, let's start from the top here. So right here is my Empire Strikes Back Dagobah X-Wing with Luke and R2-D2. This is the one that came in the display box with the Swamp Beast and the removable vines that you can hang all over the X-Wing. I actually like this one a lot better than the previous one that had come out with the super black engine inlets, which to me felt far more Return of the Jedi than Empire Strikes Back.
If you choose the quick and easy path, as Vader did.
So I wanted to have a really nice X-Wing hanging in the screening room. And that one really fits the bill, I think. I think it looks really good. Back when Hasbro did a good job on things. All right, this is my modest Tomb Raider shelf. I actually have a lot more Tomb Raider stuff than I can display right now, but I'm hoping to fix that at some point, since it's one of my major fandoms. This is my first bit of Tomb Raider memorabilia that wasn't a game. It is the Playmates statue from Tomb Raider 2. These were sold mainly in electronics boutique and gaming stores. But it was by Playmates Toys. There was a trilogy of these that eventually came out. But this was the first release, and I've had this since college. Tomb Raider Anniversary. This is my actual PC trapezoid-shaped box for Tomb Raider 1. I kept the box for this one because this game was so damn good.
Not without the heart of the operation. No!
This is my favorite video game of all time, with a very close second being the PC CD-ROM X-Wing game from back in the day, just so as you know. So right here are replica airsoft pistols for Melinda's costume when she did Tomb Raider for Dragon Con. These pistols first appeared in the Angelina Jolie movie and then went on to be in the games for over a decade after that. In fact, well over a decade after that. These are two collected volumes from the Top Cow Tomb Raider comic series that I've had for a long time. I have the whole run of Top Cow comics, thanks in no small part to my good friend Scott Hughes. And then right here this is an Angelina Jolie figure from the movie, but I bought it at the time in 2001, took it home, and customized it to look more like the classic Lara costume. And I've had that since 2001, and it's always been with me. Okay, down here we have the famous Legacy Millennium Falcon. I doubt it needs much introduction beyond that.
You know, that ship saved my life quite a few times. She's the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
Really happy to have this in my collection. It is really a masterpiece, and this one came in the Toys R Us exclusive Star Wars vintage style Kenner box. If you care, 4K player, audio receiver, PlayStation 5, and region-free Blu-ray player, along with this gorgeous Boba Fett helmet that was so kindly donated to the channel several years ago. Amazing gift. I always have it here on display with my Empire Strikes Back themed Star Wars stuff. Right underneath the Legacy AT-AT Walker and dual snow speeders. Now, this AT-AT Walker was the one that came packaged in the Kenner tribute box for the Empire Strikes Back. And these two snow speeders, one has Luke and Dak in it, and the other one has Wedge and Jansen from the Vintage Collection.
That armor's too strong for blasters.
I leave no stone unturned in these efforts. I do wish that its neck joint was a little more robust, but we take what we can get. All right, up here is my equally modest Indiana Jones shelf. This used to be a Star Wars shelf, as did the Tomb Raider one. But as you know, I'm all about symmetry, so when you back up like this, you can see that Tomb Raider is on the left and Indiana Jones is on the right. My two favorite adventure franchises. So this starts with the Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones Further Adventures #1 from Marvel. And the Raiders is also the #1 issue. Now here we have my ultimate Indy figure, my ultimate Raiders Indy figure that I described how I built it in that video last year or a year or two ago, with the Lost Wave Marion, the Ark of the Covenant, and Sala from the standard 2008 line. Now next to this is the modern Indiana Jones from the 2008 line, the Cairo edition figure. He stands there kind of, you know, just filling a space, but he looks pretty good. He's one of the better dolls they made. This is my original Indiana Jones hat from when I was a kid. My mom found it, surprised me with it back in the summer of 1989. It is an official Indiana Jones hat that you bought at the mall back then. It still has its pin in it that says Indiana Jones. And I wore this thing everywhere. This thing was my favorite bit of clothing. I wore it all over the place until I grew out of it. And I kept it because it was so special to me. Now, eventually, this thing would get sort of forgotten in the bottom of a bin. And, you know, I was a kid, so it had gotten crushed and everything like that. I got it out of the bin, and I, you know, devised a plan to put an iron to it safely. And I got it back to looking the way it had the day my mom gave it to me. And I'm really happy with the result. Okay, now we have the Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis PC game and the Emperor's Tomb console game. These are just two alternate representations of Indiana Jones that I wanted to have on display because, as you know, symmetry. So you got comics here, you got comics here. You got two video games here. I wanted two video games here. One PC big box, one smaller case.
Once I'm a god, I'm sending you straight to hell.
I'm offering you immortality. Is that the thanks I get?
Then I wanted a taller doll right here like I have. So this is a gorgeous Indiana Jones vintage doll that was gifted to me by a supporter of the channel. I was blown away.
It's Indiana Jones, a large-size action figure.
That boulder's coming in fast!
I added the Hot Toys Indiana Jones satchel to kind of complete the look of this guy, because the satchel was missing from the Kenner design. Now down here we have two of the original 2008 German motorcycle with soldier sets. And then here, thanks to Keith Knight and Scott Hughes, I'm in the middle of a I'm in the middle of a customization project with a third motorcycle and a sidecar that came from a World Peacekeeper set that Scott and Keith were able to find for me, and I am eternally grateful. So I'm going to be talking about that in a video, hopefully in the next few months. But I'm not done with it yet. You're seeing it in mid-customization. Here we have the final bit of my Indiana Jones display, which is the famous scene with the swordsman in Cairo. as Cairo Indy is probably my favorite, moment of the whole Indiana Jones franchise. I would love to display more Indiana Jones stuff like Temple of Doom and things like that, but I need to find more room, and that's going to require rethinking some of my display space in the future. Up here we have one of the later, this is the Target exclusive Big Wing TIE Fighter. We featured this in the Star Wars Follies about all the TIE Fighter variants. This is one that I feel represents what I think of when I think of a TIE Fighter. It has the blue color, which people have debated if they were ever actually blue, and it also has more of the Kenner features still on it that were eventually revised out of it by Hasbro over later incarnations. If you have not seen that video and you're curious about the evolution of the TIE Fighter toy, highly recommend you watching All Tied Up, the Star Wars Follies that was hosted over on Analog Toys. All right, now here we have my Captain America shield. This is not the Marvel Legends official one. I actually had this shield commissioned by an artisan on Etsy. And this shield has all of the proper leather strapping on the back with all the rivets. It even has the Stark Industries 1940s badge on the inside, on the back. And it has all the proper coloring to make it the basic shield that was in most of the early MCU films, which I prefer. I'm not looking for any of that added detail. I'm not one for a lot of weathering either, so I prefer it like this.
I wouldn't call it a comfort.
If you're about to say that the star is off center or not lined up properly, just know that it was. But do you know how hard it is to find mounting points for a shield like this? This star started life on this wall dead straight. And over time, there's this thing called gravity, and things settle. And then the only way to get that thing back into the right place, you would have to punch a hole right above or below, depending on what your needs are, where the other hole already is, which would weaken the sheetrock right there, and then it wouldn't hold the weight anyway. So for those of you who are like wigging out because it's not exactly straight on, well, you're just going to have to get over it. I don't really have a problem. It's not that off. All right, let's look at the Marvel shelf. I know you saw this recently, but there have been some changes since then. So we have the omnibuses acting as sort of an elevation point for Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
And then we have down here the Spider-Man from the Japanese series. He will eventually be joined by Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield from the upcoming Marvel Legends figures that I've pre-ordered with the maskless heads. I'll be looking forward to putting those on display, especially Andrew Garfield, who is my favorite on-screen Spider-Man.
I clashed, so I killed. I destroyed.
You want me to come down there so you can kill me?
Yes.
I'll be right there.
And then we have the X-Men from the Pride of the X-Men show / arcade game. Now, Shadowcat right here, I put her here because she came with Lockheed, and Lockheed is in the show. And of course, she is Kitty Pryde. And I read the Excalibur comics in the 90s, so this is my version of Shadowcat as I remember her. But I wanted Kitty Pryde represented in some fashion. I will eventually get a Professor X to go here as well, but as with everything Marvel Legends, that requires buying like 4 different figures that are all expensive and then cobbling together one version. So that's annoying, but I'll get to it. And then right here we have the villains. You see the earlier 2008 Wendigo has been added to my villains roster, and Magneto floats behind them on a flight stand. So these are the villains of Pride of the X-Men / the X-Men arcade game.
X-Men.
And then finally, here's where a lot of the changes are taking place. So this is my Age of Ultron setup.
I think a lot about meteors, the
security of them. Boom.
I unironically, genuinely think that Age of Ultron, I've talked about it in videos before, it is by far my favorite Avengers movie, and I think it's one of the best Marvel films that they've ever done. I think it's highly underrated, and I think the movie continues to get more relevant as time goes on. But you'll also notice that I'm slowly upgrading these figures to be as accurate to Age of Ultron as possible. So as you can see here, I've been upgrading. So if you go back and you look at the video about the shelf redeco, you will actually see very different figures here in many places. This has been a work in progress. So here is the actual Age of Ultron Thor, but with the Dark World Thor head on there that's more accurate to Chris Hemsworth.
Is that the best you can do?
You had to ask.
I had the Dark World Thor up there for a long time, but I wanted to make him more end battle Thor, or in battle Thor, if you know what I mean. Here is a swapped out Hulk. That Hulk used to be the Hulkbuster Corrupted Hulk, but even though I have a Hulkbuster showing up, I really didn't want him to be the Corrupted Hulk. I wanted him to be the one that was normal for the team to be working with. So I grabbed the original Age of Ultron Hulk to put there.
You know, with the benefit of hindsight.
My War Machine is correct. He's always been correct to Age of Ultron, so he's standing there dutifully.
Oh no, I didn't say you could leave. War Machine coming at you, right up.
We have Quicksilver right here from the Infinity Saga collection. I was so glad they made him.
You didn't see that coming?
Now we have Wanda.
If you stay here, you'll die.
I just did.
But Wanda is not from Age of Ultron. They have never done an Age of Ultron specific Wanda, which, you know, that does annoy me, but I'll get over it. But this Wanda is the one with the best face likeness that is also at least close enough to her outfit at the end of Age of Ultron that I feel like it's appropriate to keep her here. We have the Age of Ultron Hawkeye back there. Yeah, they need to do a better classic Jeremy Renner face sculpt. They have not updated that in a long time. They did the Ronin one, but his haircut is all off. So until they do that, I'm just going to let him stand in his place. I used to have the Avengers one with the glasses standing there, but I wanted it to get closer and closer to Age of Ultron.
None of this makes sense.
There's the Vision that came with this Wanda, so he's a little too short, but he's the best we can get.
Okay, what?
Here's the Mark 43 Iron Man, and I need to upgrade him again because when I bought him, I did not know that his helmet has some misprinting on his mouth, which annoys me.
Guys, stop. We got to talk this through. It's good talk.
And then we have Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow. The Age of Ultron outfit for her only came out once in the Marvel Legends line, and so what I did was I took that figure and I swapped out the head with the Infinity War Wanda, the Infinity War Natasha, because she had a more accurate face print, and I just swapped the hairpiece out. So this is a kind of work in progress Age of Ultron Natasha.
I'm always picking up after you boys.
And then finally, we have this this Captain America. It is the Age of Ultron Captain America body. I'm still not quite happy with how they colored this because the blue on his outfit was not that bright. And I feel like it's too primary. I'd like to experiment changing that somehow with a different body, maybe the first edition Civil War Captain America that still had brighter white on his torso, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I did replace the head with a Steve Rogers head from the Crossbones 2-pack. The shield, I gave him a more damaged version from the Civil War 3-pack with Spider-Man. For now, I'm debating whether or not to change that back. I probably will, and find a shield that's more appropriate. And then, of course, we have the Build-A-Figure Ultron that was kindly donated to this channel, gifted to this channel by my good friend Adrian, who lives in Australia. The last truly distinct item in this area of the studio is my Return of the Jedi framed poster. This poster is like the Empire Strikes Back one. It is a reprint, but it's a reprint that I got in the very early 90s at the gift shop at the Museum of Moving Image in Waterloo in London. And I've had it framed since, I'd say, the late 90s, but I had this poster actually hanging in my bedroom in the UK the whole time that I was living there. So this poster is very special to me, this actual poster. I'd always toyed with the idea of possibly swapping it out for one of my Captain America movie posters like the Winter Soldier or even First Avenger, but I just haven't brought myself to do it yet. Maybe one day I'll make a different decision, but for now, it stays right where it is. So the final element of this room that people have been asking me to talk about, and I don't know how to do it, is my movie collection. For one reason, it's because my movies are not just in this room. There are movies all the way upstairs. There are entire cabinets that are just filled with DVD and Blu-ray sets of 80s cartoons and classic television. There are shelves and shelves of Blu-rays and DVDs upstairs in the house. The ones that I keep down here are, you know, the main library of feature films for the most part, and by and large they're in alphabetical order, but as you can see here, they are double stacked. There are 2 rows, so there's 1 row behind each front-facing row. I am an eclectic movie lover, so I have movies that, you know, they go all the way from, you know, the silent era all the way to, you know, classics, you know, from the 50s and 60s, you know, 1930s and 40s. And then I've got, you know, Blu-rays and 4K discs all the way into the modern era. So it's really difficult for me to quantify and qualify my movie collection for you. It's not the easiest task, and that being said, I wish I had more to tell you on this score, but it's a, you know, really big movie collection with a lot of, you know, 4K and special Blu-ray box sets like that Monty Python there. That's the entire Monty Python's Flying Circus on Blu-ray. You know, there's 2 copies of the Vinegar Syndrome limited edition 4K of Cloak and Dagger. And I don't collect everything I see because nobody has that kind of money. But I try and collect as much as I can, and Melinda collects as well. So you're seeing both of our movie collections here. And by and large, it's alphabetical, as I said. But for example, here is, you know, the Marvel MCU shelf with the original run of Marvel films. This is my Star Wars, Star Trek kind of shelf. This right here is a classic TV shelf. This is my Indiana Jones and Pulp Adventure sort of shelf for some of its media, since I use it a lot. This right here is all Robin Hood, both back row and front row. This is all Robin Hood related media. Here is my Bond shelf. I don't have every Bond movie yet, but I've got most of them. And back there you can see a very kind gift of the Carry On series of British comedies that was kindly gifted to me by George Aiken. Here is another Doctor Who shelf as my Doctor Who content spills over. And right next to that are my Hong Kong martial arts Blu-rays. And then right here is my World War II movie and television area, mainly British content. I have other World War II stuff scattered throughout my collection in the shelves I've already shown you. And then more classic TV, both second row and first row. I wish there was a way that I could make that explanation about my movie collection far more, I don't know, comprehensive. But there's really no way to do that. I do import a lot of movies from outside the United States, a lot from England, a number of them from Australia. That was the only way I was able to get theatrical cuts of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Last of the Mohicans. But yeah, it's movie collecting. You know, movie collecting is a passionate hobby of mine based on what I am interested in. I'm not interested in collecting everything they make. I am not a movie completist in that regard. I only collect the things that I like or I'm interested in. I have bought a lot of movies sight unseen because lately it's almost cheaper to just buy the disc outright than it is to go to the theater. But yeah, that is why I devoted an entire room to be basically an informal screening room, because movies are an important part of my life. And with that, that concludes this part of the RetroBlasting studio tour. On part 3, it will either be the G.I. Joe room or the main toy display room. So thanks for watching, stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next video.